Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's Halflings. So we're looking at all the teams available in Blood Bowl 2020, whether it's in the rulebook, the Teams of Legend PDF, or the NAF expanded document, which is Slann Khorne. We're looking at all of those teams, and we're putting together some of our top rosters for Blood Bowl 7s. So Blood Bowl 7s is a quick play Blood Bowl format. It's got smaller pitch, a smaller team, and a smaller player selection. You can only have up to 4 people who are not linemen. And also rerolls are twice the price. So you end up having games that last maybe 45 minutes tops, which is an awesome way to play multiple games of Blood Bowl in an evening and really just making the most of your Blood Bowl time. We love 7s. If you want to know more about 7s, check out our Intro to 7s video, or just go and watch one of our 2 series of us actually playing a full season of Blood Bowl 7s with multiple teams. It's awesome. Awesome fun. We love doing it. It's Blood Bowl 2016 rules. We haven't had a chance to film 2020 yet, but let me tell you, as soon as we can, we will. Anyway, let's have a look at Halflings. So Halflings in 7s. If you watch the first series of 7 Super Series, you will see just how potent Halflings can be in a 7th environment. So we're going to look at strengths and weaknesses of this team. Strengths, tree men. Genuinely true here, okay? You got to go for it a lot with them. You got to be willing to risk it. But when you've got a pitch that's 11 squares wide, you can take up to 2 treemen. That is all of the pitch covered with a strength 6 blitzer. That is pretty good. They perform a pretty reasonable job of being able to let your opponent come to you and then just applying the strength. Plus, come on, trees are the best at throwing players, and halflings are basically the best at being thrown. So the treemen really form a beautiful angle of Blood Bowl 7s for the halfling team. Now, they did get a little bit worse in this edition. If you watch 7's, 7 Super Series, I'm pretty sure we ended up with break tackle on both the trees, and that was pretty awesome back then. Now it's only going to be a 3+ dodge, but a 3+ dodge is still going to give a treeman a pretty good opportunity to move around. But they're there to just smash things, and when you get close knit, when you get that scrum, they're going to start causing some serious casualties. And the other strength here for 7s, which will be of no surprise, I'm sure, to most of you guys, is the Master Chef. So halflings are cheap, and because you're running a roster that's at 600, 650, depending on your format, you can afford to take the Master Chef, and the Master Chef is going to give you up to 6 rerolls in an environment where rerolls cost double. There are hardly any rerolls in Blood Bowl 7s, so being able to start each half with 3 dice, and on a 4+ you get a reroll, and if your opponent has spent 100, 120, 140k on a reroll and you rob it with the halflings, it is an absolute brilliant edge. And the fact is, you're going to end up with, on average, 1 or 2 rerolls a half, which means you've got the opportunity to go for the crazy plays, and that really plays into the strength of this team. It can just take risks, and you're going to end up with more rerolls than anybody else to actually try and pull them off, which is so fun. So weaknesses, they are soft and squishy. Their strength 2 and their armor, 7+? It's not a great place to be if you're going to be brawling, but because their linemen are 30k, yeah, they've got no armor, but they are movement 5, they've got stunty, and they are incredibly replaceable. You can only have 11 players on a 7s teams, but you know what, you're only playing for 12 turns across the entire game, so if you take 11 players or 10 players, you're going to have enough kind of reserve to keep them in the game. Movement 5 is a little bit slow, but you know, it's not the end of the world when it comes to anything. It means that to get a 2-turn touchdown, you've got to take 3 go for it. That's fine. Most teams are going to end up having to find a way to do that anyway. The other thing to mention is, because the Blood Bowl 7's pitch is, you've got the neutral zone, it is still 13 squares from where you are to where your opponent's end zone is, so it doesn't get any quicker to score, and it actually makes it a little bit trickier here for the throw teammate. Now, it's awesome, it's great fun, but normally with throw teammate, you throw them 6 squares ahead. 6 squares ahead is going to land your halfling exactly on their line, which can be great fun, okay? If you've got some spare halflings and you just want to go catapulting, you can do that. You can throw your guys at their front line. it does mean that they're going to have to get some pretty lucky scatter rolls on the throw teammate for you to not land in a tackle zone. So it's kind of like your opponent starts the game deployed in a throw teammate defense. So definitely a little bit of a pain there. No block and no sure hands means you've got no combat and no ball handling skills for the halflings. The catches are pretty sweet though. Having sprint means they're basically movement 8, and having catch is going to be a huge bonus for that stretch play. So I love what halflings bring to sevens. It's a smaller environment, and in a smaller environment it allows the smaller players to brawl. So let's have a look at our first roster. So 2 trees, 2 catchers comes in exactly at 600k. And unsurprisingly, you get 2 trees and you get 2 catchers. You also get 5 halflings. So you're running a 9-man squad here. So you've got 2 spare halflings. In a game of sevens, you are normally looking at sort of 2 to 4 drives. So you should have enough halflings to sort of stay in the combat. The key here is that you start with that Master Chef, which means you are going to be obliterating team value from your opponent if they've taken 1 reroll. If they've taken 1 reroll, you get 3 chances at rolling a single 4+ to undo their reroll and steal it. What's that? That's like a 50% chance of the first roll, 75% chance for it to work out, and then it's like an 82% chance of you stealing their reroll each half. That's fantastic. And if you roll multiples, you just are absolutely swimming in the rerolls. So this roster here, I think, is the one that we ran in 7 Super Series, and it did very well. So Treeman can be absolutely awesome in 7s. You don't get a lot of skills, but being tier 3, you are going to get more than anybody else, and you're probably going to get a couple of secondaries. Block on a tree man is unsurprisingly awesome. Actually, jump up is going to be really effective as well, because it just allows your tree to keep mobile. You've got a smaller pitch, so a little bit of mobility with your trees is going to mean that they can be a little bit of everywhere. And when you've got some strength 6 brawlers, it really does close that pitch down. You can use them to kind of flow the enemy elsewhere. If you stack heavy trees on right, it means they're going left, and you can kind of lead your opponents, because they are going to want to stay away from the trees, and you're going to most of the time find your opponents stay 4 squares away from your trees. You can use them as area denial. Okay, maybe they'll gum them up with a lineman, and that tree man is going to knock that lineman out, and you are going to have enough halflings to run around for a cheeky boot to the head as well. So you're going to win the attrition game. And you've got catchers. These are some of the best stunty players out there. Giving them sure feet on a single skill means that they are basically movement 8 all of the time, with a 3+ and a reroll to dodge almost anywhere as well. 8 squares is a huge space of movement, especially when you think in the first turn of 7s, if you've got the ball, you can just wander forward. You can get to within 8 squares of the end zone in your first turn and cage up pretty reasonably, and then go for a cheeky catcher breakout. It's great fun. I like this roster a lot. It performed very well on the show. Definitely go give that a watch. Okay, so we've changed it up ever so slightly here. We've gone with the 2 tree mix. 2 treemen, 1 hefty, 1 catcher, 5 halflings, and the Master Chef. The roster at its core is exactly the same as one we just looked at, except you are dropping one of your catchers for a hefty. Now, there are some cool reasons to do that. Downsides first, that hefty cannot be thrown. Ever. So don't bank on ever throwing the hefty. It can do all the other halfling stuff absolutely fine, but the beautiful thing here is it ends up with passing skills. So you can use on the ball to receive the ball. It gets 3 free squares and also 3 free squares of movement whenever your opponent passes. You've got to dodge, sure, but in 7s you tend to have a bit more space, and that hefty going from movement 5 to movement 8 potentially is pretty massive. So in this roster, you use on the ball to allow your hefty to receive the ball. You move him, you grab the ball, you hand him off to the catcher, and you've basically got yourself an extra turn of having the ball. Alternatively, you can run leader on him and just... You've dropped a throwable player, but you've gained a reroll in a 7s environment, plus you've got the Master Chef. You can end up with 4 rerolls in your half, and with the Blood Bowl 2020 rules where you can stack rerolls, not on the same roll, but within the same turn, that allows something like, for example, the throw teammate 1-turn touchdown to be incredibly more reliable. In fact, we're going to be looking at that on Theory Thursday this week, because throw teammate is just one of the best bits of Blood Bowl, and I think this roster is probably the best one to do it with in 7s. But let's say you're an old school halfling player who does not want anything to do with these fancy positionals and their value. 2 treemen, 8 halflings, and a master chef will bring you in at 580. You can pad out all these rosters with assistant coaches, so 580 plus 2 assistant coaches. This is just, you stand there, you've got halflings to do all kinds of halfling stuff, and you can just throw them to your heart's content because you've got 10 players on your roster. So you're going to have to suffer 4 out before you're even down on numbers. Can I see that happening against halflings? Oh, definitely. You can do that against halflings. You can definitely do that with halflings. So it can happen, but realistically, you're going to be okay for most of the game to have your full lineup, and you're still doing Master Chef things as well. Because the trees end up being so much value, you can drop one. I don't recommend it, but I thought it'd be worth looking at what you can buy instead. So we've got the 1 tree mix here. 1 tree man, 1 hefty, 2 catchers, 5 halflings. So that's 9 players on the ground, plus the master chef, and that apothecary to almost give you an extra catcher instead. So you're giving up strength here to extra numbers of stunty and the ability to keep those stunty players still running with the apothecary. So catchers are fantastic, they're great in this environment, they are dodgy, and they've got that little bit of extra speed and that catch, which just means they are superb for dumping off the ball. The hefty having passed 3+ is going to give you a suboptimal attempt at a pass, but 3++ with a 3++ catch is something like an 89% chance of success for a quick pass. So bear that in mind with the hefty, because if you've got on the ball, basically he's got 8 squares of movement followed by a 3 square quick pass and an 89% chance of making that happen, which I think is pretty sweet. Then you've got that little catcher and he's just going to be bombing it down the field. Halflings are going to have a they're going to have a sneaky offense here, which is so cool. So you lose 1 tree man, so your defense is tougher. The ability for you to control the board will struggle here. But what you get out of it is more players, more player resilience with the apothecary, and just more stunty madness. And talking of stunty madness, we have maxed out on stunties here. 2 hefties, 2 catchers, 6 halflings, apothecary, master chef, 540. You can chuck an 11th player on there, or you can just go absolutely mad with assistant coaches. That's going to combo pretty well with your master chef. You're going to win the kickoff rolls and you're going to get more rerolls. You have no trees. This is the halfling ground game. You've got hefties to use fend to try not to die while also pretending that they're controlling the pitch. You've got 2 catchers. You've got that apothecary to keep it going. I've highlighted the 6 assistant coaches because on the kickoff table that is now what you want if you want to swing those extra rerolls. This roster is a complete meme, but it will be a lot of fun, and there's definitely going to be a couple of coaches out there that just want to run it. The other great thing is if you pick up a box of halflings, you are good to go with this. You're going to be down and you're going to win a lot less, but if you run hot with the dice, this is going to be great fun for you. I always like to finish up these videos with my pick if I was going to be running this team in a league or a tournament, because Sevens kind of does resurrection better than most. This roster here, you don't have the hefty, I know, but you have 2 treemen to smash things and throw little guys, and you've got 7 little guys to throw. You're a little bit light on bench potentially, but what you get is absolutely superb. Those catchers with their inbuilt skills of sprint and catch just actually, they overperform in this environment, and the fact you've got a bunch of halflings and the master chef, it all really depends on those master chef rolls at the beginning of each half. If you roll hot, you get those re-rolls. You can pull off stuff you would not be able to pull off. And I don't just mean the one-turn touchdown. I don't just mean throwing teammate as ammunition. I mean doing the cheeky stunty dodge into a tackle zone and then punching somebody with 2 dice up. Like, if you've got a re-roll, it's the chance is much better, and these guys can do that. Then they've got the numbers to just harangue the ball carrier. I love halflings in 7s, and if you guys saw 7 Super Series, you will see it's just an absolutely stunty love fest. Okay, you are rooting for the underdogs, and they are playing, and in 7s, the tier 3 guys, they're not quite so tier 3 anymore, and that is awesome. So this is my pick of these halfling rosters, and actually I love them in 7s. I think they're awesome. Anyway guys, I'm going to wrap up this video now. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of 7s for halflings. If you've seen 7 Super Series, you'll know just how good they can be, and it is just so cool to have an environment where this team is one of the best? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Thanks ever so much for watching, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.